My fiancé, Xiao Xie, was obsessively infatuated with a crippled ballet dancer. That girl was as proud as snow. She would rather perform pole dancing in bars than be a golden canary in his gilded cage. Once, she stopped my car in the pouring rain, her eyes blazing with defiance. Miss Pei, please keep your fiancé in check. Though I have nothing to rely on, I'm not a plaything for others to entertain. To prove his sincerity, Xiao Xie broke off our engagement on the spot and spent 300 million to host a wedding that shocked the entire city. 3 years later, I got engaged to someone else. Xiao Xie stormed the party, smashed the champagne tower in front of everyone, and ended up hospitalized, vomiting blood from drunkenness. Now, as Mrs. Xiao, Lin Xiaoyue rushed into my company, her nails digging into her palms, her voice trembling. Everyone in the city says you're his only regret in life. While I'm just a substitute. Pei Yue, don't you particularly enjoy this feeling of being superior? I simply laughed. You know what? I love watching people like you throw a fit. I never imagined that, on a stormy night like this, I'd witness my fiancé tear our engagement apart right before my eyes. Xiao Xie said he wanted to surprise me tonight and asked me to meet him at Misty Bar. Ha! A surprise. Indeed, everyone in the city knows that my fiancé, Xiao Xie, is utterly obsessed with a crippled ballet dancer. Lin Xiaoyue. That name has been like a thorn stuck in my ear for 3 months now. At first, it was just gossip among people in the entertainment circle. Young Master Xiao has been frequenting that underground bar in the East District lately. Apparently, it's because of a dancer with a limp leg, but with a cold, elegant demeanor, like a flower blooming in the snow. TSK. The Pei family's daughter has become a joke now. I didn't believe it. Or rather, I refused to believe it. Xiao Xie and I grew up together as childhood friends. He called me Yuli, and I called him Xie. He gave me my first rose when I was 12. I shielded him from my father's whip when I was 16. At 22, he knelt down before my parents and promised solemnly, I'll protect her with my whole life. Back then, his eyes were sincere, his voice firm. But now, the car slowly came to a stop in front of Misty Bar. The wipers swung frantically, but couldn't wipe away the water on the windshield. Just as I couldn't dispel the growing doubts in my heart, I took a deep breath and opened the car door. The rain hit my face instantly, cold and piercing. But I didn't go far before I froze in place. At the entrance of the bar stood Xiao Xie. His black coat was soaked with rain, clinging to his muscular shoulders. He wasn't wearing an umbrella. And he didn't look at me. His gaze was fixed intently on the inside of the bar. Through the half-open glass door, I could see a slender figure spinning around a pole in the center of the stage. She wore a nearly transparent silver dance dress. Her left leg dragged slightly across the floor, yet her movements were strangely graceful. With each turn, her lame leg lightly touched the ground, as if she were dancing a complete dream with her imperfect body. Lin Xiaoyue. She was really doing pole dancing, and my fiancé stood there, staring at her like a pilgrim. In that moment, everything seemed utterly absurd. I, Pei Yue, the only daughter of the Pei Corporation, had been taught since childhood to be proper, restrained, and dignified. I never lost my composure in public, never argued with anyone, and certainly never cried or acted hysterically in front of men. I thought love was about enduring relationships, mutual respect, and working together hand in hand. But in the eyes of some people, love is nothing more than a reckless act of betrayal, a desperate pursuit of passion. It's when a man, for the sake of a noble-minded woman with a limp, tears up all his promises to another woman. I stood there in the rain, motionless, until Lin Xiaoyue finished her last dance. She seemed to sense the stares outside. She pushed her wet hair aside and glanced toward the door. In one glance, she saw me. Her expression started with surprise, then turned into pity. No, it was condescending pity. Then, she did something that makes me want to slap myself every time I think about it, because I should have slapped her right then. Lin Xiaoyue rushed out, barefoot, stepping over the puddles, limping on her injured leg. She walked straight up to my car. Rainwater streamed down her cheeks, her hair sticking to her forehead. Yet she stood upright, like a plum blossom that refused to bow its head. She knocked on my car window. I rolled it down. She leaned in, with raindrops dripping from her chin onto my steering wheel. Her eyes were strikingly bright, burning with a flame not of shame or guilt, but of justice. Miss Pei, she said softly, but clearly. Please keep your fiancé in check. I was stunned. She continued, though I have nothing to rely on. I'm not some toy for others to manipulate. With that, she stood up and turned to leave. But just then, Xiao Xie rushed over. He grabbed my wrist so tightly that it felt like his fingers might break my bones. He pulled me out of the car, and the rain immediately soaked my dress. I stumbled, almost falling, but he paid no attention at all. "You Li," he yelled hoarsely, as if it were he who had suffered all the wrongs. "Listen to my explanation." "Explain what?" "Explain why you're standing here, staring blankly at another woman doing a pole dance. Explain why you let everyone in the city know that you're about to abandon me." But he didn't give me a chance to speak. The next moment, flashlights flashed everywhere. Click, click, click. I quickly looked upon the other side of the bar. At least 20 cameras were pointed at us. Reporters held their microphones. Pushing forward excitedly, he had informed the media. He'd planned this all along. Xiao Xie took out a document from his pocket. It was our engagement contract. Made of parchment, with gold edges, drafted by lawyers from both families. On the day we signed it, he kissed the back of my hand and said, "From now on, you're my life." Now, he tore it up in front of everyone in the city, right in front of me. Crash! The sound of paper breaking was louder than thunder. "You Li," he screamed at the camera, his eyes wild and obsessive. "I never loved you. I loved you." Her purity illuminated my decaying soul. "This marriage contract is a shackle that binds us together. I'll tear it up now." Pieces of paper mixed with rainwater fell to the ground. Like a bizarre kind of snow, I stood there, completely soaked, but without a single tear. It wasn't pain. It was pain that had become numb. Lin Xiaoyue stood not far away, her hands clasped together in front of her chest, her head slightly tilted back, letting the rain wash over her face. She didn't smile, but there was a barely noticeable smile on her lips, a smile of a victor. And Xiao Xie turned around and rushed towards her, holding her tightly in his arms. "Don't be afraid." Yeah, he whispered, his voice so gentle it seemed to drip with tenderness. "From now on, no one will ever bully you." The room fell silent for a moment. Then, applause erupted. No one knew who started it, but soon everyone was clapping. The reporters cried out excitedly, "A love for the ages. True love is invincible. This is what real romance looks like." Some even began to offer their blessings. I stood there in the rain, like an outsider. But the most ironic part was that Xiao Xie suddenly let go of Lin Xiaoyue and announced loudly to the cameras, "To prove my sincerity, I'll spend 300 million to host a wedding worthy of a century for Lin Xiaoyue. I want the whole world to know that she deserves only the best." The crowd went wild. Flashes of light blazed everywhere again. Lin Xiaoyue covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face this time. She was truly crying. She threw herself into Xiao Xie's arms, sobbing, "Xie, I never meant to hurt anyone. It's just that love is beyond control. I really don't want to accept the 300 million, but you said it came from your heart. I don't want to let you down." What perfect words. What perfect victim. And me. I'm the vicious fiancé who abuses her power to ruin others' relationships. I'm the heartless woman who doesn't understand true love and measures relationships in terms of money. I watched them kiss, watched them surrounded by people, watched this absurd drama being labeled love and becoming tomorrow's headline. The day after the engagement was broken off, as expected, the top trending topic in the whole city was, "Xiao Xie spends 300 million to host a grand wedding for a disabled dancer." When I clicked on it, all I saw were photos of Lin Xiaoyue standing in front of a floor-to-ceiling window, wearing a pure white dress, hands on the window frame, left foot slightly turned inward, with a look of melancholy yet determination. The caption read, "She'd rather do pole dancing than be a goldfinch." The comments section was ablaze with reactions. This is what true love is. Not seeking fame or fortune, but staying true to one's heart. Pule is truly cruel. Using her family's influence to force a breakup. Lin Xiaoyue is so unlucky. She did nothing wrong. Yet she's called a mistress. Young Master Xiao has finally come around. He married a woman with a pure heart. No one asked if I ate anything that night. No one asked how long I stood in the storm. No one asked that the torn-up engagement contract was the result of 3 all-night sessions with my legal team, carefully revising every word. All they cared about was whether Lin Xiaoyue was truly proud and aloof, whether her legs hurt while dancing, whether Xiao Xie would regret it later. And I became the only villain in this myth of true love. Over the next month, I was forced to attend various business events. It wasn't my choice. My father insisted. Yue, you're the face of the Pei family, he said from his study, his tone leaving no room for argument. The more you avoid these events, the more people will think you can't accept defeat. Show them that a Pei family daughter never relies on men to survive. So, I put on designer gowns, applied flawless makeup, and walked onto one cocktail party after another, wearing 10-centimeter high heels. But everywhere I went, the air seemed to freeze slightly for a moment. Some people quickly averted their gaze. Others whispered to each other before falling silent. And still others pretended to greet me with forced smiles, saying, "Yu Li. Long time no see. How have you been?" I smiled and replied, "I'm fine. Thank you for asking." But as soon as I turned away, I could hear their hushed whispers. I heard she cried for an entire hour in the car the day she was broken off from her engagement. How is that possible? She's cold-hearted like ice. In my opinion, she deserves it. After all, she used her power to bully others and force that girl to give up her dignity. Lin Xiaoyu is so pitiful. Her parents died early. She's disabled. And now she's even being threatened by her holding my champagne glass. My fingertips felt icy. No one knew that night, after returning home, I took 3 baths. Yet I still felt the smell of rain and humiliation on my skin. No one knew that I suffered from insomnia for a week, relying on sleeping pills to fall asleep. But I couldn't give up, because if I did, the rumors of me collapsing after being abandoned would become true. I had to stand there, even though my back was about to break. That private party was held at the Cloud Summit Club in the eastern part of the city. Although it was supposed to be a private event, everyone from the circle was there. Xiao Xie didn't show off, was too busy helping Lin Xiaoyue try on wedding dresses. But all his cronies were there, not a single one missing. As soon as I stepped onto the garden terrace, I was surrounded by them. "Oh, Sister Yueli." Wang Xiao was the first to speak. He was Xiao Xie's childhood friend. Back then, he would politely address me as sister-in-law. Now, he smiled like a dog wagging its tail. "We were all so worried when you didn't show up." "Yeah." Another one agreed. Xiao Gu really acted improperly this time. "But you know, men sometimes act on impulses, but then again." A third person leaned in, lowering his voice with a malicious glint in his eyes. "Is Lin Xiaoyue really that pure and noble? My friend worked at Misty. She said she took on private jobs on the side, and the pay was pretty good." Shuang Xiao interrupted, pretending to be shocked. "You can't say such things casually. She's a saintly woman after all. She does pole dancing for artistic purposes." Everyone laughed. I listened quietly, without saying anything. They thought I was upset, but in reality, I was observing. These people didn't care about the truth at all. All they wanted was something to talk about, a stepping stone to climb higher by trampling on others. And I happened to be the one who got trampled on. "Sister Yuli, don't be too sad," Wang Xiao said, putting on a sympathetic expression. Brother Xiao was just confused for a moment. That lame girl blinded him. Honestly, another person sneered. What could Brother Xiao possibly see in someone who dances pole dancing in a bar? Arrogant. I'd say she's more like a bland, worthless person. If she can't even move around properly, what else can she do? Exactly. The third person chimed in, exaggerating his tone. Who else is born with such grace, intelligence, and charm like our sister Yuli? Compared to her, she's nothing at all. While they praised me, they humiliated Lin Xiaoyu. Their goal was clear, to use me as a distraction from their boring lives. I set down my champagne glass and smiled lightly. "You're right. She's indeed not as good as me." Everyone was stunned. I continued, "At least, I won't accept a 300 million yuan dowry while crying that I don't want to ruin anyone else's life. Nor will I live in the Xiao family's villa while claiming that I'd rather do pole dancing than be a goldfinch." I looked around, my voice soft but clear. Hypocrisy is the hardest role to play. She tried too hard, and that's exactly why she failed. After saying that, I turned and left. Complete silence followed behind me. I knew that by tomorrow, people would spread rumors like, Pei Yueli's jealous to the point of madness. She's starting to spread lies about Lin Xiaoyue. But I didn't care. Because the real humiliation was yet to come. On my wedding day, I received an electronic invitation. The theme was thanking my ex for giving me freedom. It was tastefully designed, a black and white photo of Lin Xiaoyue standing in the rain, her silhouette frail, with torn paper scraps at her feet. Those were the wedding vows I had torn up that day. I stared at the photo for 10 minutes before closing the email. But my father said, "You must go." "Why?" I asked. "Because if you don't go, it means you've given up," he said. "And if you go there and behave badly, it's self-destruction. So, you must go. But you must do so with dignity." So, I wore a silver gray custom-made suit, without any jewelry, except for 2 small diamonds in my ears. My makeup was subtle. My hair was tied back. Neither overly flashy nor overly modest. The wedding was held at the Star Sea Cathedral, broadcast worldwide. The venue was decorated like a fairy tale. 3,000 white roses hung from the ceiling, and the crystal chandeliers cast a dreamy light. The guests included celebrities, stars, and politicians. As for me, I sat in the last row, in the corner. No one noticed me, until Lin Xiaoyue stepped onto the stage. She wore a custom-made wedding dress with a 10-meter-long train. Her left foot was specially designed to allow her to walk without being noticeable limp. She held a bouquet of lilies, with tears in her eyes. She was beautiful, like a painting. The host asked her to speak. She took a deep breath, her voice trembling but firm. 3 years ago, I was a helpless girl with nowhere to turn. To survive, I danced pole dance in bars. Many people called me degenerate, shameless. But I knew that as long as my heart remained pure, my body wouldn't be corrupted. Applause rang out from the audience. She continued. Later, some people tried to put me in a gilded cage, offering me money and status in exchange for giving up my dignity. I refused, because I belonged to no one but myself. She paused, her gaze sweeping the crowd before finally stopping on me. That look held pity, triumph, and a silent judgment. "I'm very grateful to Miss Pei," she said. "If not for her help, I might never have believed that true love truly exists in this world." The room was stunned. People began whispering, their eyes fixed on me. I remained expressionless, sitting still as before. Next, Xiao Xie took the stage. He wore a black suit, his eyes burning with passion, as if the person before him was a savior. "I used to think marriage was merely a union of interests," he said in a low voice. "Until I met Zhao Yu. She was like a ray of light that shone into my rotten soul. She taught me that love isn't about possession or control, but about respect and equality." He held Lin Xiaoyu's hand affectionately. "I'm willing to give up everything for Zhao Yu, including my past mistakes." Lin Xiaoyu's eyes were filled with tears as she replied, choked up, "Xie, I never meant to hurt anyone. But love is beyond control. I really don't want to accept the 300 million. You said it came from your heart. I don't want to let you down in the audience." Countless women cried, moved. The media cameras focused intently on them, with headlines already prepared. "A century-long wedding. True love overcomes convention." And I became the symbol of that convention. That vicious ex who tried to bind love with money. That loser who doesn't understand true love and only knows how to be jealous. After the ceremony, there was a dinner party. I got up to leave. Just as I reached the door, Lin Xiaoyue rushed after me. She had changed into a formal dress made of red velvet, which made her pale face look even more delicate and attractive. "Miss Pei," she said softly, her tone gentle, "thank you for coming today." I remained silent. She sighed, as if feeling sorry for me. "You're really pitiable. I hope you can let go. Stop living in the past." She said these words softly, but loudly enough for everyone around to hear. Immediately, people began to whisper, "She must still hate him. She definitely can't accept a 300 million gone like that. Lin Xiaoyue is so generous to even try to comfort her." I stopped in my tracks and turned to look at her. There was a hint of satisfaction in her eyes, barely concealed, but not hidden from me. I smiled faintly, my voice not loud but clear to everyone's ears. "Wish you all lock yourselves away from love." With that, I turned and left. My high heels made a crisp sound on the marble floor. Behind me, Lin Xiaoyue let out a hypocritical sigh. "Oh, Miss Pei. Why must you break down like this? How pitiful." I hope she can let go and stop being so possessive about other men's men. She actually wanted me to never recover. Because only when I suffered could her victory mean anything. Only when I was humiliated could her noble character seem genuine. This wedding was nothing more than an altar on which he used my shame to crown their love. 3 years isn't long. Nor is it short. It's enough time for a city to replace half its neon signs. For a wedding that once made headlines to become just another topic of conversation after dinner. And for me, Payualito transformed from the ex whose engagement was ruined on a stormy night into someone I barely recognize anymore. On the day I left, I told no one except my closest family members. Over these 3 years, I've never returned to China. Never read any domestic entertainment news. And even blocked all social media accounts. I don't need to know how they're doing. Because I know that as long as I'm happy, their happiness means nothing to me. I completed my master's degree in fashion management in Milan. Then spent 6 months interning in Paris. Finally, I founded my own brand in London called Moon, meaning moon. The moon never competes for light. Yet it still has its own gentle glow. When I returned to China, it was a chilly spring day. I wore a camel-colored cashmere coat I designed myself, paired with a silver-gray silk shirt underneath. I wore new season block-heeled boots. My hair was cut to 3 centimeters below my ears. Neat and tidy. My gaze was sharp and clear. Assistant Xia held a sign at the exit, with the stylist, public relations officer, and driver following behind. My father kept his promise. As soon as I returned to the country, he handed over all the fashion-related operations under the Pei Group to me and invested 500 million yuan to support the independent operation of Moon. You need to prove to everyone, he said, that the daughter of the Pei family isn't just a vase that relies on men to survive. I succeeded. Within a year, Moon made its debut at the Shanghai Fashion Week. The collection became a sensation. Its minimalist cuts, cool color palette, and emphasis on feminine strength challenged the stereotype that softness equals femininity. A magazine dedicated an entire page to the story. Pei Yueli used scissors to break free from the old constraints of Chinese fashion. In 2 years, we opened flagship stores in Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Chengdu. Our online sales exceeded 1 billion. 3 years later, we made it onto the official schedule of Paris Fashion Week, becoming the first Chinese emerging brand to take the international stage with the theme of independent women's narratives. And I'm no longer the Pei family's young lady who could only smile, nod, and endure. I'm Pei Yueli, founder of Moon, a director of the Pei family, and a regular on Forbes 30 Under 30 list. I live an independent, confident life, shining brightly. As for Xiao Xie and Lin Zhaoyue, their forever love has long since fallen from grace, becoming a laughingstock in the whole city. During my first week back in China, I heard about their situation at the family dinner. Have you heard? My cousin whispered. Lin Zhaoyue no longer lives in the Xiao family's main house. She rented an old apartment, saying she wants to maintain her mental independence. Really? She accepted a 300 million yuan dowry, yet still acts all high and mighty. My cousin sneered. What's even more ridiculous is that she refuses to use the Xiao family's driver and takes the subway every day. Last week, during the morning rush hour, someone caught her limping and getting pushed around, almost falling. I picked up a piece of steamed base with my chopsticks and said nothing. But deep down, I knew Lin Zhaoyue's highness wasn't genuine integrity, but merely an act. It wasn't that she didn't want to rely on men. She wanted to do so in a dignified and noble way, getting both the money from her wealthy partners and the image of a pure maiden. But reality isn't that easy. Sure enough, things escalated soon after. She started taking part-time jobs. Officially, it was to perform pole dancing at the Misty Bar, under the pretext of returning to art. In reality, it turned out she was doing striptease at a small club called Red Butterfly in the east of the city. Tickets were 300 yuan each, with interactive services included. Those who paid over 10,000 yuan could access private performances. When the videos went viral, the whole internet erupted. Someone intercepted her speech at her wedding. I'd rather dance pole dance in a bar and endure humiliation than be a golden canary in a golden cage, combined with images of her dancing under dim lights now. It's downright ironic. Lin Zhaoyue's image crumbles. The proud ballerina becomes a striptease dancer. The topic instantly rose to the top 3 of trending searches. The Xiao family was furious. Zhao's father slammed the table at the board meeting. When our family marries someone, We're not inviting ancestors. If she's really so proud, why did we pay 300 million in the first place? Zhao's mother fainted on the spot and was diagnosed with a heart attack after being rushed to the hospital. And Lin Zhaoyu. She didn't apologize or explain. Instead, she held a small press conference, tears streaming down her face, and said, "My husband loves me, not my family's money. I earn my own money through hard work. What's there to be ashamed of? You're trying to tarnish my love with money." As soon as these words were spoken, public opinion split into two camps. Some people criticized her for being too ambitious and self-serving. Others praised her for being strong-willed and not relying on men. But the most angry were Zhao's relatives. What's the point of acting all high and mighty? Where was all her talk about sacrificing love when she accepted the money? She lives in a mansion by day and does striptease by night. What's the point of that? Xiao Xie must be blind to marry such a drama queen instead of Yu Li. For the first time, Xiao Xie remained silent, standing by his parents' sickbeds and looking at his mother's pale face. He asked himself, "Have I made a mistake?" He began to recall events, not the big picture, but the details. For example, once he worked until 3 a.m., suffering from stomach pains and sweating profusely. He ordered a bowl of Chinese yam and pork rib soup to be brought to him. There was also a note attached to the thermos. "Drink it while it's hot. Don't push yourself too hard." For example, when he had a fever of 39 degrees, I stayed by his bedside all night, wiping his forehead, palms, and soles with alcohol-soaked cotton swabs until dawn. For example, when I wanted to eat street-side kebabs, he would sit with me at the street stall. Even if his suit got stained with oil, he would smile and say, "As long as you're happy." What about Lin Zhaoyue? When he had a cold, she said, "You need to be strong. This is part of the trials of art." When he wanted to eat home-cooked food, she said, "Those greasy foods aren't worthy of our souls." His parents were hospitalized, but she was too busy streaming dances, saying, "Family isn't a constraint. Love is freedom." Worse, she began to interfere with his social life. "Your brothers are all so vulgar. Avoid them. That blind date your father arranged for you. Are you thinking about someone else? Why do you keep mentioning Pei Yueli? Do you regret it?" She became sensitive, suspicious, and overly controlling, yet pretended to be spiritually independent. Xiao Xie finally realized that her arrogance wasn't a principle, but a weapon, a tool to manipulate him, humiliate him, and keep him trapped in guilt for letting her down. And he himself had gone from a confident heir to a wealthy family to a coward trapped between his wife and parents. A month after returning to the country, I was invited to the Cloud Summit Spring Banquet, the city's most exclusive private party. As soon as I entered, I was surrounded by people. "Yu Li, you're finally back. Moon is amazing. My mom now only wears clothes from your brand. I heard you got a boyfriend abroad. Is that true?" I smiled. "It's true. He works in finance in London. We're going to get engaged." The room fell silent for a moment. Then, whispers spread around. "No way. How could she let go of Xiao Xie? It must be just a way to provoke him into coming back. Look. She hasn't been in a relationship for 3 years. Clearly, she's still waiting for him." I picked up my champagne and took a sip, without explaining anything, because I knew they wouldn't believe me. Not because I wasn't happy, but because they couldn't imagine a woman who had been abandoned could actually be happier than before. Ironically, that same night, I saw a post from Lin Zhaoyue on social media. It was a photo shoot of her and Xiao Xie, clearly staged. The caption read, "Some people say they've moved on, but in their hearts, they still hold on to the past. Why bother? Just let go of yourself." The comments below were full of mockery. "That must be Pei Yueli, acting all nonchalant. 3 years have passed, and she still can't let it go. Poor her. Sister Lin is so magnanimous. Not holding grudges for the way she treated you back then." I closed the page and said to my assistant, "Inform Jean Yusheng that we can start preparing for the engagement party." The assistant was stunned. "Mr. Jean really agrees to cooperate?" I smiled. "He isn't just cooperating. He truly wants to marry me." "Yes. Jean Yusheng isn't a lie I invented. He's an investment banking executive I met in Milan, a mature, steady man who respects my career and never interferes in my past. He knows about my story with Xiao Xie. All he said was, 'That was your youth, not your burden.' Only such a man deserves me now. In the second half of the party, I went to the terrace to get some fresh air. There, I heard a familiar voice from a corner. Wang Xiao, Xiao Xia's childhood friend. Brother Zhao's having a rough time lately, he said, taking a gulp of whiskey and slurring his words. He married a real troublemaker. Last time her mother was hospitalized, she was still dancing live in a bar, claiming to heal the world through art. Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed. Brother Zhao's lost both his wife and faced all kinds of trouble. Before, people would praise him as having true love that can't be defeated, but now it seems like he's just a naive idiot who's obsessed with love. And to make matters worse, not only is Lin Zhaoyue lame, but she's also completely delusional. Does she really think the whole world revolves around her? Xiao Zia sat in the shadows, saying nothing. Before, he would argue, "You don't understand her. She's different." But now, he didn't even have the energy to defend himself. He just kept drinking, his gaze empty. Someone deliberately asked him, "Brother Xiao, do you regret it?" He smiled bitterly and said softly, "If I could do it over again, I would definitely cherish Yuli properly." These words spread among those present. The next day, Xiao Zia regrets breaking off the engagement made it back onto the trending list. Lin Zhaoyue immediately posted a long response. "There are no what ifs in love. I respect his past, but I also hope people will respect my present. Some people always try to play the lead role in someone else's story, but in reality, they're merely supporting characters." Once again, she portrayed herself as a generous and understanding victim, but no one believed her anymore, because everyone in the city knew that she accepted money from the Xiao family while criticizing them for corrupting love with money. That she claimed to be independent yet relied on Xiao Zia's fame to land commercial gigs. That she said she disdained fame and wealth yet encouraged her fans to donate during live streams. Her so-called noble character was nothing but a lie. After the party, I drove home. On the way, Xiao Xia couldn't help asking, "Miss, do you really not hate them?" I stared at the neon lights outside the window and replied softly, "Hate is too strong an emotion. It's meant for those who deserve it. Xiao Xia doesn't deserve it. And Lin Zhaoyue even less. I never loved him. Growing up together doesn't mean love. I was just accustomed to his presence. Like being accustomed to an old coat. But the day he broke off our engagement, what hurt wasn't losing love, but feeling like a joke. Now, I refuse to even be a joke." Xiao Xia remained silent for a moment before asking again, "What about Mr. Jean? Is it true?" I smiled. "What do you think?" "I think it's true," she said, "because your eyes shine when you mention him." "Yes, they do shine. Because Jean Yusheng would never let me stand alone in a stormy night. He wouldn't push me into the public eye to prove true love. And he certainly wouldn't trample my dignity in front of the whole world. He respects me, supports me, and loves me for who I am. He doesn't treat me as part of a mistaken past that needs to be discarded immediately." 2 months after returning to the country, the Xiao family officially announced that they would no longer recognize Lin Zhaoyue as Mrs. Xiao, unless she stopped all public performances and moved back to the family home. Lin Zhaoyue refused. On her live broadcast, she cried, "They want to control me with money, but my soul belongs to no one." As a result, Zhao's father froze all her bank accounts, including the account where the 300 million yuan in betrothal money was kept. She was instantly left without any cash flow. She couldn't pay the rent. Her small theater had to close. And she couldn't even afford cosmetics. Meanwhile, Xiao Xie grew increasingly silent amidst his brother's mockery. Someone asked him outright, "Brother Xiao, do you still think she illuminates your rotten soul?" He didn't answer, only clenching his glass until it cracked. At that moment, he finally realized Lin Zhaoyue wasn't light. She was fire. Fire that burned away his reason, destroyed his family, and extinguished his illusions about pure love. The Xiao family and I have been neighbors for years, living in the same villa complex, separated only by 2 green belts. After returning to the country, I tried not to pay much attention to their affairs, but my parents kept bringing them up from time to time. During dinner that day, my mother, while serving me vegetables, sighed. "You and Xie grew up together, went to the same school, and had the same tutors. How come you have such poor taste?" My father put down his chopsticks and said, "Thankfully, it didn't work out. Otherwise, our family would be in trouble too." They were referring to Lin Xiaoyue. Ever since the Xiao family froze her bank account, her life became miserable. She couldn't pay her rent at her old apartment. Her performances at the small theater fell through without the Mrs. Xiao gimmick. And even the online influencers who used to fawn over her started ignoring her. But she refused to give up. Every day, she still wore her plain-colored dress, which had faded from frequent washing. She commuted to work by subway. When she was occasionally photographed, she would force a smile at the camera and say, "Ordinariness is truth." That is, until her brother, Lin Xiaoming, showed up. Lin Xiaoming was 5 years younger than her. He had no proper job and spent his days idling around. Upon hearing that his sister had married into a wealthy family and received a 300 million yuan dowry, he immediately came to her, demanding 5 million yuan. "Sis," he said, sitting in Lin Xiaoyue's rental apartment, which was less than 50 square meters. With his legs crossed, "I've got a girlfriend. She wants a spacious apartment in the city center for their wedding. There's still a 5 million yuan shortfall for the down payment. You're now Mrs. Xiao. This amount shouldn't be a problem for you, right?" Lin Xiaoyue, who was cooking instant noodles, paused. When she turned around, her face was cold as ice. "I don't have any money." "You don't have it." Lin Xiaoming sneered. "Xiao Xie offered you 300 million. Stop pretending to be poor. I've checked it's in a trust account, so you can withdraw it any time. That money was meant as Xie's sincere gift, not for you to squander," Lin Xiaoyue said, putting down her instant noodles in a dignified tone. "I can help you out, but I can't keep bailing you out indefinitely. It's better to teach someone how to fish than to give them fish. If you're incapable, giving you money will only harm you." "Harm me?" Lin Xiaoming stood up abruptly, pointing at her nose. "Lin Xiaoyue, you have no conscience. When we were poor, our parents scrimped and saved to pay for your dance lessons. Now that you've succeeded, you ignore us completely. What's wrong with giving me 5 million out of those 300 million? I already said, I don't have it." Lin Xiaoyue replied firmly. "My achievements are my own. Not thanks to marrying into a wealthy family. I won't use my husband's money, nor will I let you drag down the Xiao family." These words completely enraged Lin Xiaoming. As he stormed out, he left behind a vicious remark. "Wait and see. If you won't give it to me, I'll take it by myself." Lin Xiaoyue probably thought he was just bluffing, but she forgot that her parents were even more greedy than her brother. 3 days later, a shocking scene unfolded outside the Xiao Group headquarters. I was in a video conference with the team, discussing Moon's design direction for the next season. Suddenly, my assistant, Xiao Xia, rushed in, pale-faced. "Miss, downstairs. Something terrible has happened." I frowned. "What is it?" Lin Xiaoyue's parents and brother, along with a group of relatives, are sitting outside the Xiao Group headquarters, dressed in mourning clothes. Xiao Xia spoke rapidly. "They're holding signs that read 'Ungrateful daughter' and 'Rich bride forces poor parents to death.' Many journalists have gathered there." I was stunned for a moment, then understood. Lin Xiaoyue's purity was about to be shattered by her own family. The meeting was suspended. I walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window and looked down. As a landmark building in the city center, the Xiao Group's entrance was always busy with people coming and going. At that moment, the left side of the entrance was completely blocked off. A group of people wearing white mourning clothes knelt on the ground, with black and white photos in front of them. Cries of grief echoed throughout the street. Lin Xiaoyue's mother sat at the front, slapping her thighs and wailing. "Why does my life have to be so miserable? I raised a daughter who's ungrateful. After marrying into a wealthy family, she completely ignores her parents." Lin Xiaoming held up a sign and shouted at the reporters. "My sister Lin Xiaoyue received 300 million in dowry from the Xiao family, yet she refused to give me even 5 million to buy a house. She's afraid we'll hold her back. Afraid we'll bring shame upon her. This is the so-called noble goddess you all talk about." Relatives chimed in. "Yes. As a child, she relied on our family for everything. Now that she's successful, she's forgotten her roots. The Xiao family has money and power, so they take advantage of us poor people." Lin Xiaoyue, come out and give us an explanation. The situation got out of control. The security staff of the Xiao Group tried to intervene, but were blocked by the journalists. Soon, hashtags like "wealthy wife forces parents to death, Lin Xiaoyue ungrateful" became trending. sparking outrage across the internet. People dug up previous interviews with Lin Xiaoyue, where she said, "My parents passed away early. I had no one to rely on." Now that her real parents were standing right in front of her, her lies were exposed. So her noble character was just an act. She even deceived her own parents. Receiving 300 million in dowry yet refusing to buy a house for her brother is really unacceptable. Wasn't she supposed to be an independent woman? How can she ignore her parental responsibilities? I used to think she was pitiable, but now it seems like a heartless traitor. Public opinion completely turned against her. Lin Xiaoyue arrived at 2 p.m. She was still wearing her plain white dress, with her hair tied up in a simple ponytail. Limping, she made her way through the crowd and stood before her parents. It had started to rain without anyone noticing, soaking her clothes and hair. She stood upright, like a plum blossom battered by the storm, but there was no longer any defiance in her eyes. Only cold exhaustion. Reporters immediately surrounded her, holding microphones near her mouth. "Ms. Lin, is what your parents said true? Did you really receive 300 million in dowry but refuse to help your brother buy a house? Did you lie by saying your parents died early?" Lin Xiaoyu didn't look at the reporters, nor at her parents lying on the ground. She simply raised her head slowly, facing the camera, tears streaming down her face. "The suffering I've endured today is all because of the pain in my birth family," she said. Her voice trembled, yet carried an almost cruel determination. "From childhood onward, they only knew how to demand things from me. I paid for my dance lessons with money I earned through part-time jobs. When I got injured, they never came to see me. I endured humiliation by dancing pole dance in bars. And all they asked was for money." She took a deep breath, her tone suddenly rising. "I feel sorry for them. But I'll never become their blood-sucking leeches. They want 5 million to buy a house. I don't have that money, and I certainly won't use a single cent from my husband's family to satisfy their desires. From now on," she said, each word deliberate, her gaze resolute, "I, Lin Xiaoyu, have no further connection with my birth family." With that, she turned and walked away. Her limping leg appeared especially pitiful in the rain, but she never looked back. The journalists were in an uproar, frantically taking pictures of her back. Father and Mother Lin stood there stunned, probably never expecting her to be so heartless. When they finally reacted, Mother Lin cried even harder. "You unfilial daughter, you'll suffer the consequences." But no one felt sympathy for them anymore. Lin Xiaoyu's words had struck a chord with many people. The exploitation by one's own family was a nightmare for countless people. Public opinion shifted again, with some people starting to support Lin Xiaoyu. Well done. She should break ties with her exploitative family. If her brother isn't capable, why should his sister bear the consequences? Lin Xiaoyu has had it so hard she has to deal with her husband's family and break away from her own. We wronged her before. She's truly independent and sensible. But looking at the woman in the video, with tears streaming down her face and that so-called noble demeanor, I found it ridiculous. She really didn't want to completely cut ties with her family of origin. She just wanted to find a balance between not supporting her family and maintaining an image of being aloof. She wanted everyone to know, "I'm not ungrateful. I'm a victim. I'm not refusing to give money. I'm just standing by my principles." But she forgot that true aloofness isn't something you can declare with words. True independence isn't proven by publicly breaking off relationships. In the end, the public relations department of the Xiao Group stepped in and persuaded Lin Xiaoyue's relatives to leave. But Xiao Xie's reputation was completely ruined. That night, while walking in the neighborhood, I happened to see Xiao Xie driving back. His car was parked at the entrance to the villa complex. The window was slightly down, and I could see his tired face. He wasn't as confident as before. His eyes were bloodshot, and there was green stubble on his chin. Perhaps sensing my gaze, he looked up at me. The moment our eyes met, a flicker of panic passed through his eyes. He immediately lowered his head, avoiding my stare. I didn't stop and just walked past. Later, my mother told me that Xiao Xie went home that day, locked himself in his study, and smashed many things. Zhao's parents were already ill from anger over the Lin Xiaoyue incident. After witnessing this scene, Zhao's mother was rushed to the hospital again. Zhao's father declared, "This Lin Xiaoyue must either leave the Xiao family or behave properly. Otherwise, I won't acknowledge her as my daughter-in-law." Xiao Xie was caught in a difficult situation. But this time, He didn't defend Lin Xiaoyue like before. Watching the videos circulating online, seeing Lin Xiaoyue announcing her breakup on camera, he felt disgusted for the first time. He used to be fascinated by her proud spirit, seeing it as a ray of purity in a world full of corruption. But now he realized that her proud spirit was nothing more than a cover for selfishness. She would abandon her parents who gave birth to her without hesitation. All for the sake of maintaining her own image. For the sake of so-called mental independence. She would embarrass him in front of his family and the public. She would take everything he gave her, while criticizing his family as vulgar and selfish. This so-called proud spirit was nothing but obnoxious and cheap. What hurt him even more was learning the truth about Lin Xiaoyu's limp from Wang Xiao. That night, they were drinking in a bar. Wang Xiao, drunk, blurted out, "Brother Xiao, do you really not know? Or are you pretending not to know? Lin Xiaoyu's leg wasn't born that way, it was broken by someone." Xiao Xie snapped his head up. "What did you say? I heard it from a friend of mine too," Wang Xiao said, burping after drinking. "She used to live in the south. She dated a rich second-generation heir. But then she hooked up with his brother. When they were caught, the rich man was so angry that he had someone break her legs." Xiao Xie's face turned pale instantly. He had always thought that Lin Xiaoyu's limp was innate, a suffering bestowed upon her by God, making her purer and more worthy of pity. He had even written a poem for her. "Your imperfect dance steps are the most beautiful act of redemption in the world." But now, someone told him that her limp was the result of being beaten for infidelity. This truth felt like a poison knife piercing his heart. The true love he had always been proud of, the pure soul for which he had broken off his engagement and challenged his family, turned out to be a woman with a chaotic private life, whose legs had been broken by someone else. He felt like a complete fool. That night, he got completely drunk for the first time and felt physical disgust toward Lin Xiaoyue. He began to miss me desperately. I missed the way I would politely keep my distance from other men when he missed me, never causing any rumors about him. I miss sitting with him on the street, eating kebabs and laughing happily, never criticizing his taste. I miss bringing him nutritious soup late at night after he worked overtime, along with a handwritten note. I miss staying by his bedside all night when he was sick, wiping his forehead with alcohol swabs over and over. I miss never interfering in his social life, but quietly helping resolve conflicts after arguments with his friends. I miss never pretending to be independent, but instead proving through actions that women can thrive without relying on men. He remembers those years we spent together as simple yet fulfilling. I never forced him to choose between me and his family, nor did I use love to manipulate him into doing anything. I respected his preferences, supported his career, and accepted his flaws. But what about him? He took my care for him for granted, my tolerance as a sign of insufficient love for him. He considered everything I did for him to be worldly constraints. He personally pushed away the woman who cherished him like a treasure, yet regarded something worthless as if it were a rare gem. Regret overwhelmed him like a tide. He began to desperately seek information about me. He watched me give an interview to Vogue. In front of the camera, I spoke with confidence, my eyes bright. When talking about past relationships, I remained calm and composed. It was a valuable experience that taught me to love myself. He watched me at the Paris Fashion Week, wearing a gown I'd designed myself. I stood under the spotlight, graceful and radiant. He also saw the photo of me with Jean Yusheng that was taken when we visited an art exhibition in London. Jean Yusheng gently adjusted my scarf, and I smiled up at him, my eyes filled with undeniable happiness. In the photo, I look more beautiful, more confident, and more out of reach than I did 3 years ago. The huge contrast nearly broke him. He finally realized that what he had lost was something he would never find again in his life. What he held in his hands was nothing but a selfish, self-serving hypocrite. At that moment, his desperate efforts to win me back really ignited into a raging fire. That night, he didn't go home. Instead, he drove straight to my apartment. My apartment was located in a downtown area with a beautiful river view, and the security was strict. It took him a long time to convince the security guards to let him in. He stood at my door, his finger hovering over the doorbell, hesitating for a long time. He didn't know what to say. I was wrong. That was too mild. I regret it. That was too insipid. Let's start over. He found it ridiculous even to himself. Just as he was struggling with his words, the door opened. It wasn't me who opened the door, it was Jean Yusheng. Jin Yusheng was dressed in casual clothes, exuding a gentle demeanor. When he saw Xiao Xie, he wasn't surprised at all. He simply smiled politely and said, "Good evening, Mr. Xiao." Xiao Xie's heart clenched tightly. He looked at Jin Yusheng, a mature, steady man with remarkable grace. This contrasted sharply with his own youthful impulsiveness. He deserves her. The thought filled him with overwhelming shame. "Yu Li. Is she here?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "She's in the study, working on some matters," said Jin Yusheng, stepping aside to let him in. "Does Mr. Xiao need to see her?" Xiao Xie entered the living room, glancing around. The decor was simple yet elegant, reflecting his own taste. On the sofa lay a men's blanket. On the coffee table, there were 2 mugs. On the balcony, 2 men's shirts were hanging out to dry. Everything here proclaimed that this man had become part of my life. His throat tightened, and he couldn't say a word. Jin Yusheng poured him a glass of water and handed it to him. Then, he picked up a gold-stamped envelope from the coffee table and said with a smile, "By the way, Mr. Xiao, I have something to give you." Xiao Xie took the envelope and opened it. Inside was a wedding invitation. The design was simple. It bore my name, Jin Yusheng's name, and the wedding date next Saturday, at the Riverview Hotel. "Yu Li said you're her old friend, so she wanted to invite you personally," Jin Yusheng said gently, yet with an unmistakable sense of possession. "I hope you'll come." Xiao Xie held the invitation, his fingers trembling. The gold letters on the invitation stung his eyes like needles. As he watched Jin Yusheng's calm and confident demeanor, and the house filled with memories of him and another man, he finally realized that he had lost me completely, just as he had carelessly broken off the engagement back then. Now he had to suffer the consequences in humiliation. He wanted to apologize, to make amends, to go back in time. The winter solstice marks the longest night of the year. It's also the engagement party for me and Jin Yusheng. The venue was chosen to be Yunqi Manor in the eastern part of the city, not because of its luxury, but because it was the place where my parents first dated. The entire manor was decorated in a silver-white ambience. There were no fancy crystal chandeliers or overwhelming amounts of roses. Instead, there were simple birch branches, warm yellow candlelight, and handmade paper lanterns hanging in the corridors, swaying gently in the wind. There weren't many guests, just 100 or so, all close relatives and friends. No paparazzi, no live broadcasts, even cell phone signals were blocked. This was my promise to Jin Yusheng. This ceremony would belong solely to us. I wore a custom-made ivory white velvet dress, sleeveless, with a high neckline and a tight fit. The dress had a slit down the back, flowing gracefully as I moved. My earrings were old-fashioned pearls left to me by my grandmother, delicate and understated. Her makeup was very subtle. Her lips were painted a grayish shade of red bean paste color, not overly noticeable, yet impossible to ignore. Jin Yusheng stood beside me, dressed in a dark gray 3-piece suit. There was a silver cufflink on his sleeve, a birthday gift from me, engraved with special words for him. He said nothing, just gently held my hand. His palm was dry, warm, and steady. In that moment, I knew I had finally married Anshin. Just as the wedding officiant finished his opening remarks and was about to invite the parents of both parties to speak, suddenly, the main door of the manor was flung open with a loud bang. Everyone froze, staring toward the door. There stood Xiao Xie. He wore a crumpled black shirt with the collar open. His hair was messy, his eyes bloodshot, and he reeked of alcohol. Clearly, he had broken free from his parents' supervision and rushed here. "Drunk, Pei Yueli." He screamed my name, his voice hoarse, filled with almost frenzied paranoia. "You can't marry him." The scene fell into chaos. Guests whispered among themselves, taking secret photos and videos with their phones. I frowned, the smile fading from my face. Jin Yusheng placed himself protectively in front of me, his expression stern. "Mr. Xiao, please keep your manners." "Manners?" Xiao Xie sneered, stumbling forward. His gaze was fixed on me. "What kind of manners matter more than our feelings? Yueli, have you forgotten? We grew up together. We skipped class together, ran in the rain together. You said you'd only love me in this life." His words sounded like an absurd farce. I looked at him, feeling nothing but estrangement. The man before me, drunk and delirious, talking nonsense. Was this really Xiao Xie? The gentle and considerate man who used to prepare surprises for my birthday. Xiao Xia. You're drunk. I said. My voice calm. Please leave. Drunk. I'm not drunk. He shook his head violently. His eyes blood-red. I'm completely sober. I know I was wrong. Yu Li. I shouldn't have given up on you for that woman. Lin Zhaoyue. I shouldn't have broken off our engagement. I shouldn't have made you suffer so much. He knelt down abruptly, his voice trembling with emotion. Please, give me one more chance. Come with me. And let's start over. I'll make it up to you for the rest of my life. Let's elope right now. The room fell silent. Immediately afterward, voices of outrage could be heard everywhere. Good heavens! Is Xiao Xia completely insane? To run away during someone else's engagement party is simply rude and unacceptable. It was he who broke off the engagement back then. Now he pretends to be affectionate again. How disgusting. Miss Pei is so unlucky to have met such a paranoid man. My parents were furious. My father stepped forward, pointing at Xiao Xia and shouting, Xiao Xia, have you had enough? You wronged Yu Li all those years ago. Now that she's found happiness, you come back to cause trouble. You've brought shame to both our Pei family and your own Xiao family. Xiao Xia's mother was so upset that tears welled up in her eyes. She grabbed her husband's arm and pleaded, Old Xiao, take him away. This is too embarrassing. Xiao Xia's father, also furious, gave a signal to the bodyguards behind him. Drag him away. The two bodyguards immediately stepped forward and lifted Xiao Xia off the ground. Let go of me. Xiao Xia struggled frantically, screaming, Yu Li, you can't marry him. He doesn't love you at all. He only cares about the Pei family's wealth. Only I truly love you. We grew up together, didn't you remember? You loved me the most. His voice grew louder, filled with an eerie confidence, as if saying those words would make me immediately abandon Jin Yusheng and go with him. But I simply watched him silently, like watching a farce that had nothing to do with me. Love. What does he even know about love? Love is about respect, not possession. It's about letting go, not destroying. Love is about holding an umbrella over someone on a stormy night, not tearing their dignity to shreds and throwing it in front of everyone. His so-called true love is nothing but selfish desire for control. His regret is merely unwillingness to accept that what he lost has been taken by someone else. Such deep feelings are worth less than grass. The bodyguard dragged Xiao Xia outside. He kept shouting frantically, Yu Li, I'll wait for you. I'll keep waiting until you change your mind. That Jin Yusheng isn't good enough for you. Only I am. You're the only regret in my life. I can't live without you. His voice grew fainter and eventually disappeared outside the banquet hall. The atmosphere became awkward. Jin Yusheng gently patted my back and said softly, Don't be upset. It's not worth it. I looked up at him and smiled. I'm not upset. I just find it ridiculous. Then I picked up the microphone, stepped onto the center of the stage, and said calmly to everyone present, I'm sorry for the embarrassment, but I also want to thank Mr. Xiao, as his actions have confirmed just how right my decision was today. I looked at Jin Yusheng. My eyes filled with laughter. Some people teach us how to love ourselves. Others teach us how to recognize those who aren't worth our time. But Jin Yusheng has taught me what true love and respect mean. Today, I'm very happy. I raised my champagne glass. I also wish everyone here can find their own happiness. Thank you all. As I spoke, thunderous applause erupted. Guests raised their glasses, and the atmosphere quickly became lively again. The little incident earlier seemed like a trivial joke, yet it added a memorable touch to this engagement party. Jin Yusheng came to me, put the ring on my finger, and gently kissed my forehead. I love you. I held his hand and replied softly, I love you too. The night outside the window was still dazzling, and the indoor lights were warm. I know that, from this moment on, my life has completely changed. All the pain, humiliation, and suffering from the past will become things of the past. But Xiao Xia and Lin Zhaoyue's farce isn't over yet. The day after the engagement party, hashtags like Xiao Xia's engagement party fiasco, Peiweli's comment independent late coming love is useless took over the trending topics. Everyone was mocking Xiao Xia's paranoia and absurd behavior, while praising my composure and resilience. Some people brought up videos from 3 years ago, when he broke off the engagement, comparing those events to the current fiasco. They joked, just as he was carefree back then. Now he's completely embarrassed. Others said, Pei Yueli is truly sensible. Most people would have been moved by those circumstances. But she finds it ridiculous. Some people joked. When Lin Zhaoyue sees this news, she must be furious. Her own husband, at someone else's engagement party, called another woman the only regret of his life. Sure enough, not long after, Lin Zhaoyue showed up at my office. That day, I was working on documents in the office when my assistant, Xiao Xia, knocked on the door. She looked troubled. Miss Lin Zhaoyue is here. She insists on seeing you. We couldn't stop her. I put down my pen and said calmly, let her in. A few minutes later, Lin Zhaoyue entered my office. She was still wearing her plain white dress, but her face was pale, with bloodshot eyes clearly. She hadn't slept all night. Her left hand was clenched tightly, her nails digging into her palm. She trembled slightly, maintaining that appearance of fragile yet stubborn strength. As soon as she entered, she slammed a newspaper onto my desk. On the front page of the newspaper was a photo of Xiao Zia causing a scene at the engagement party. The headline was eye-catching. Xiao Group's heir goes mad, calling Pei Yueli his only regret in life. Pei Yueli. Her voice trembled with suppressed emotion. Her eyes filled with jealousy and resentment. The whole city says you're his only regret, while I'm just a substitute he had to settle for. She stepped forward, pressing closer to me. Her tone sharp. Don't you enjoy this feeling of being superior? Watching him go crazy over you. Seeing everyone pity me as an intruder who took his place. Did you expect this to happen? Did you deliberately provoke him? You just want to humiliate me. To make everyone know I'm not good enough for you. Her accusations rained down on me like machine gun fire. I leaned back in my chair, staring at her silently, watching her hysterical yet stubborn demeanor. I suddenly felt sorry for her. Throughout her life, she'd been striving for others' approval, trying to prove she was good enough. She thought marrying into a wealthy family would free her from her past hardships. That acting aloof would earn her respect. That by holding on to Xiao Xia, she'd have everything. But in the end, she gained nothing. Xiao Xia's deep affection was fake. Her aloofness was pretentious. And her happiness was an act. Now, even her identity as Mrs. Xiao, upon which she relied for survival, was threatened by Xiao Xia's actions. How could she not be panicked or frantic? After she vented her anger, the office fell into brief silence. I slowly stood up, walked around the desk, and approached her, being taller than her. I leaned forward slightly and looked her straight in the eyes. Her eyes flickered, and she instinctively took a half-step back, seemingly frightened by my demeanor. I chuckled softly, the sound not loud, yet carrying a power that pierced to the heart. You know what? I really enjoy watching people like you lose their temper. Lin Zhaoyue froze, opening her mouth as if to say something, but producing no sound. I continued, my tone calm, yet each word striking like a dagger. The more you act like this, the more it proves that your dignity and nobleness are nothing more than bubbles built on money, easily shattered at a touch. You, Lin Zhaoyue, have never been any kind of noble and independent goddess. I stared into her eyes, emphasizing each word. It's not that you don't want to rely on men. You want to rely in a way that preserves your face to enjoy the luxuries of the wealthy while maintaining your pretense of nobility. You want Xiao Xia to be crazy about you, yet at the same time, you want others to praise you for not craving fame or wealth. Too bad, I said, shaking my head gently, a mocking smile playing on my lips. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You want everything, but in the end, you won't get anything at all. My words were like a sharp dagger, piercing through her. Lin Zhaoyue's face turned pale and red in an instant. Her lips trembled, her eyes filled with shame, anger, and despair. She suddenly raised her hand, pointing at me, her voice shrill with desperation. He's just a man. I'll give him to you. There was a sense of utter desperation in her words. I raised my eyebrows, watching her on the verge of collapse. Not a single emotion stirred within me. Give it to me. Did she really think Xiao Xia was something that could be given away casually? Did she think I'd still be interested in a man who had been used by her, discarded by her, and now came back to haunt her? How ridiculous. After saying those words, Lin Zhaoyue seemed to have exhausted all her strength. Her body swayed, and she almost fell. She stared at me with eyes filled with resentment and hatred, but couldn't say another word. In the end, she turned around abruptly, limped away, and rushed out of my office. She slammed the door so hard that the window panes rattled. I went back to my desk. Picked up the newspaper she had thrown there. Flipped through it briefly, then tossed it into the trash can. The news of Xiao Zia vomiting blood and having to be rushed to the hospital at his engagement party spread like wildfire throughout the city. Early the next morning, all major media outlets headlined with stories about the incident. Zhao Zhe loses control at engagement party. Vomits blood, his image of being a devoted lover crumbles. Xiao Zia accused of violent tendencies. Pei Yueli's engagement party turned chaotic due to ex-boyfriend's behavior in the photos. He could be seen being pulled away by bodyguards, with blood on his lips and a frantic look in his eyes. The image of him as a devoted wealthy man, which he and Lin Zhaoyue had worked hard to create, was now completely shattered. Netizens were unanimous in their criticism. Before, I thought he was someone who fought for love. Now it seems like he's just an emotionally unstable madman. To cause such a scene at someone else's engagement party, and even vomit blood, that's terrifying. What else could that be but violent behavior? If partners have to deal with people like this, they must live in constant fear. The Xiao family's choice of heir is terrible. How can someone like this manage the company? Public outrage came quickly and violently. The shares of the Xiao Group dropped 5 points at the opening of trading, and the price even hit its daily limit down. Several major projects that had been nearly finalized saw partners sending letters stating that they needed to reassess the risks involved, temporarily suspending cooperation. Zhao's father was confronted by shareholders during the board meeting. He became so angry that he suffered a hypertensive crisis and was rushed to the hospital. The entire Xiao family was in complete chaos. As for Xiao Xia, the person who caused all this, upon waking up in the hospital, his first reaction wasn't to reflect on his actions. Instead, he rushed over to Lin Zhaoyue, who was by his bedside, to apologize. Yeah, I'm sorry, he said, his face pale and voice weak. I drank too much yesterday. I was confused and did something I shouldn't have. Please don't be angry. You're the only one in my heart. When Jin Yusheng's brother told me this, his tone was full of mockery. Miss Pei, you didn't see how Xiao Zia behaved toward Lin Zhaoyue. He acted like he'd suffered greatly. I was reviewing Moon's new design sketches. Hearing this, I simply raised my eyes slightly. He's always like that. Immature, selfish, always acting pitiful after causing trouble. Lin Zhaoyue had gone to the hospital with the divorce agreement. At the engagement party, Xiao Zia's words, "You're the only regret of my life," felt like a poisonous thorn piercing her heart. She endured all night, and finally made up her mind to cut ties with a man who had another woman in his heart. Looking at Xiao Xia, who was weakly apologizing on the hospital bed, and thinking about her own miserable situation with a ruined reputation and no money at all, she hesitated again. Before she could make a decision, even bigger trouble arose. Her family members came again. This time, they didn't go to the Xiao Group's headquarters to cause a scene, but rushed straight to the hospital. Lin Zhaoming, along with his parents and relatives, blocked the door to the ward. As soon as they saw Lin Zhaoyue, they started screaming and throwing tantrums. Lin Zhaoyue, you heartless woman, Lin's mother wailed, slapping her thighs. Your husband is in such a condition, and instead of taking care of him, you want to divorce him. Have you been planning to steal the money and run away all along? Sis. Lin Zhaoming stepped forward, reaching out to grab Lin Zhaoyue's arm. You must give me 5 million today. Otherwise, I'll stay here and not leave. The Xiao family is so rich, how could they possibly lack 5 million? You just don't want to help me. Lin Zhaoyue took a step back abruptly, avoiding his touch. Her face turned pale in an instant. I've already said I have no money. How can you be so unreasonable? Unreasonable. Lin's father was furious. We raised you all these years. Now that you've married into a wealthy family, do you simply ignore us? Your brother needs help with his wedding and house purchase. As his sister, shouldn't you help out? I can offer some support, but I can't keep covering his expenses indefinitely. Lin Zhaoyue's voice trembled with suppressed anger. Yet her tone remained lofty. It's better to teach someone how to fish than to give them fish. If he lacks the ability to succeed on his own, giving him money will only harm him. Harm him. Lin Zhaoming sneered. You just can't bear to give up the 300 million in dowry from Xiao Zia. You keep it for yourself, refusing to help even your own brother. I think the Xiao family has brainwashed you. You've forgotten your roots. The relatives joined in the outcry. That's right. Once you marry into a wealthy family, you forget your relatives. Xiao family treated you badly, so you're on their side now. Today, we demand an explanation. The Xiao family must pay us 5 million. They deliberately blamed the Xiao family, shouting things like the Xiao family mistreats poor wives and the wealthy use their power to oppress others. This attracted many medical staff and patients to watch. Some even secretly took photos and videos. The situation got out of control. The hospital's security tried to restore order, but Lin Xiaoming pushed them away. We're one family. This isn't your concern. Lin Xiaoyue stood among the crowd, her face turning pale and red in turn. She never expected her own family to be so shameless, coming to the hospital to cause trouble and trying to drag the Xiao family down with them. But she knew better than to let them destroy whatever chance she still had left with the Xiao family. Taking a deep breath, she walked to the door of the ward, facing the crowd and the cameras. She performed her noble act once again. Tears welled up in her eyes instantly. She cried bitterly, yet remained upright and resolute. All the suffering I've endured today, Lin Xiaoyu, is due to the pain of my upbringing. From childhood onward, they only knew how to demand things from me. I paid for my dance lessons by working part-time. When I got injured, they never came to see me. I endured humiliation by dancing pole dance in bars, and all they did was demand money from me. Now that I've married into the Xiao family, they show no understanding at all. Instead, they demand even more 5 million yuan. I have no money, and I'll never take a single cent from my husband's family to satisfy their desires. Her voice suddenly rose, filled with resolute determination. I feel sympathy for them, but I will never become one of those blood-sucking leeches. From now on, I, Lin Xiaoyue, have no further connection with my family. With that, she turned and entered the ward, slamming the door behind her, keeping all the noise and criticism outside. But this time, no one felt sympathy for her. After the video went viral, netizens' opinions completely changed. I used to think she was pitiable, but now it seems she's completely heartless. After all, they're the parents who gave her life. Even if there are conflicts, shouldn't they resolve them privately rather than publicly? All this talk about pain from one's upbringing is just an excuse to be ungrateful. After taking advantage of her family, she wants to abandon them once she marries into a wealthy family. Her purity and pride have been shattered by her own actions. All that's left is hypocrisy and selfishness. Xiao Xie married such a woman. What terrible luck he has. This farce turned Lin Xiaoyue into the laughingstock of the entire city. In the hospital room, Xiao Xie watched everything outside through the window and heard Lin Xiaoyue's declaration. He stared at the closed door, with even the last trace of remorse disappearing from his eyes, replaced only by deep disappointment and disgust. He thought of his parents, who, due to Lin Xiaoyue's constant troublemaking, had to be hospitalized repeatedly, resulting in their declining health. He thought of his company, whose stock price plummeted and projects were halted because of the negative news she caused, resulting in huge losses. He thought of himself, once a proud heir to a wealthy family, now reduced to someone who's laughed at, questioned by shareholders, and abandoned by everyone. All of this was because of his own momentary foolishness in falling for this woman. Xiao Xie's appeal to Lin Xiaoyue had long since worn away through all the misunderstandings and arguments between them. Once, he thought her limp was a unique beauty, a hardship bestowed upon her by God, making her even more pure and charming. But now, every time he saw her limping, it only caused him physical discomfort, especially after learning the truth behind her limp. That day, Wang Xiao brought a few of his friends to see him. After several rounds of drinking, someone couldn't help but ask, "Brother Xiao, you really don't know how Lin Xiaoyue ended up with a limp, do you?" Xiao Xie paused, holding his glass. Without saying anything, "I just found out," the man said in a hushed voice, his tone full of curiosity. She used to date a rich second-generation heir in the south. Then she cheated on him with his brother. When the rich guy caught them, he had her leg broken in revenge. Really? Someone exclaimed in shock. I thought it was something innate. It's true. Wang Xiao nodded. My friend saw it with his own eyes. He said she cried bitterly, begging the rich second-generation heir for forgiveness. But he completely ignored her. Xiao Xie's face turned pale instantly. His stomach turned upside down, and he almost vomited. He had always thought of Lin Xiaoyue as an innocent angel who had been treated unfairly by fate. He felt sorry for her sufferings and was fascinated by her purity. Even for her sake, he broke off his own engagement and hurt the woman who truly cared for him. But now, someone was telling him that her limp was the result of being beaten for infidelity, that she had caused it herself. This truth was like a poison dagger, piercing through his illusions. He remembered how Lin Xiaoyu always played the victim in front of him, her lofty and pretentious words, and all the absurd things she did to maintain her false image. A strong feeling of disgust overcame him. He finally realized that he had been deceived and exploited by this woman from start to finish. She wasn't some pure angel at all, but rather a selfish, manipulative actress. And he was the fool who had let love cloud his judgment. Disgust and weariness wrapped around his heart like vines, making it hard for him to breathe. He began to make frantic comparisons between himself and Lin Xiaoyu. Lin Xiaoyu dismissed street food as tasteless and unhealthy and never wanted to try it with him. But I would smile, take his arm, and squat down with him at street stalls to eat kebabs together. She didn't care at all if oil stains got on his clothes. When Lin Xiaoyu worked late into the night, she would simply send a message saying, "You must be strong. This is part of growing up." I, on the other hand, would quietly have warm nutritious soup delivered to him, along with a handwritten note reminding him, "Don't push yourself too hard. Remember to rest." When Lin Xiaoyu was sick, he focused solely on his artistic pursuits and didn't even bother going to the hospital. I, however, would stay by his bedside all night, wiping his forehead, palms, and soles with alcohol-soaked cotton until his temperature dropped. Lin Xiaoyu refused to fulfill his duties as a husband. He despised everything about the Xiao family, even when his parents were hospitalized. He went to bars to find artistic inspiration. Back then, I would take the initiative to visit his parents, chat with them, help with household chores, and take care of everything properly. Lin Xiaoyu only knows how to demand things from him, using love to bind him and forcing him to pay for her vanity and pretenses. As for me, I've always given silently, respecting his choices and supporting his career, never causing him any trouble. I keep a polite distance from other men, never causing any rumors about him. But Lin Xiaoyu can't even handle her own emotions properly. She gets involved in affairs, gets beaten, and then brings all that mess into his life. I never claimed to be independent, but I've proven through action that women can live successfully without relying on men. Lin Xiaoyu, on the other hand, claims to be spiritually independent, but she relies on his money and fame at every turn. Once she loses those things, she becomes hysterical. The more I compare the two, the more regretful Xiao Xie becomes. Regret overwhelmed him like a tidal wave, nearly swallowing him whole. He remembered those years we spent together as childhood friends, all the little things I did for him. He remembered my calm eyes, though filled with pain, on that stormy night when he broke off our engagement. Finally, he realized that my kindness toward him wasn't something taken for granted, but a precious treasure. It was he who had thrown this treasure into the mud, only to pick up something covered in sugar-coated filth and treat it as a treasure instead. He remembered my words from that Vogue interview. It was a valuable experience that taught me how to love myself. Yes, that experience helped me grow and become stronger and more independent. But he, in that misguided relationship, became someone unrecognizable, abandoned by everyone. His company was on the verge of collapse. His parents were bedridden. His reputation was ruined. All that was left to him was a woman who only made him feel disgust and annoyance. It was all his own fault. Xiao Xie covered his face, his shoulders trembling violently. The hospital room was silent. His brothers watched him in silence, their expressions filled with mockery. "Brother Xiao, your canary has flown away." A canary is actually a fighting bird, one with thorns and venom. Wang Zhao's words pierced his heart like needles. Once, he would have argued back, defended Lin Xiaoyue. But now, he didn't even have the strength to argue. He knew Wang Xiao was right. For what he called true love, he had rushed headlong into disaster, ending up covered in wounds. Meanwhile, the woman he had abandoned had risen from the ashes, living a brilliant life out of his sight. The overwhelming sense of failure and regret nearly destroyed him. On the day Xiao Zia was discharged from the hospital, he didn't go back to the Xiao family's ancestral home, nor to the wedding house he shared with Lin Xiaoyue. Instead, he went straight to the building where my company was located. He had shed his usual suit and tie, wearing a faded gray hoodie. His hair was messy and stuck to his forehead, and he had dark circles under his eyes. He looked exhausted and desperate. Once the proud heir of a powerful family, now he resembled a homeless vagrant. He just stood there at the entrance of the Moon brand store, enduring the curious stares of passers-by for the entire afternoon. The employees whispered among themselves, "Isn't that President Xiao of the Xiao Group? What's he doing here? I heard he's going through a terrible time lately. His company is on the verge of collapse. And he's also in a divorce lawsuit with his wife. He can't possibly be here to see President Pei, can he? After all, it was he who abandoned President Pei back then. Now he regrets it. Why didn't he act like that earlier?" Through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the office, I could see everything downstairs clearly. Seeing his pretentiously pitiful act, I found it utterly ridiculous. He thought this would make me soften my heart. That just saying I was wrong would somehow make up for all the harm he'd caused me. How utterly naive. As I stepped out of the elevator after work, Xiao Xie blocked my path. He rushed toward me, his eyes filled with urgency and humility, his voice trembling slightly. "You Li." I stopped in my tracks, staring at him expressionlessly, without saying a word. "You Li. I was wrong. I really was wrong." He took a step forward, trying to grasp my hand. But the bodyguard assigned by Jin Yusheng to watch over me stopped him in time. He didn't struggle at all. Through his bodyguards, he stared at me with bloodshot eyes, his voice pleading almost to the point of desperation. "I know I was a jerk in the past. I shouldn't have given up on you for that woman, Lin Xiaoyu. I shouldn't have broken off our engagement, nor should I have made you suffer so much. Every day these past days, I've regretted everything, when I think back to how we grew up together. To all the little things you did for me, I realize that without you, I have no idea what happiness is. You Li, please, give me one more chance. Okay." His voice grew softer, laced with a thick nasal tone. "I'm willing to give up everything. I can give up my inheritance to the Xiao Corporation. I can divorce Lin Xiaoyu. All I want is for you to come back to me." A crowd had gathered around us, some taking photos and videos, pointing at us. I frowned and ordered my bodyguard, "Brother Zhang, take care of this." Brother Zhang immediately stepped forward, standing between me and Xiao Xie. His tone was serious. "Mr. Xiao, please behave yourself. Do not harass Miss Pei here." "I'm not harassing her. I truly want to win back Yueli," Xiao Xie cried out excitedly. "Yueli, look at me. I know you still feel something for me. Otherwise, why wouldn't you block me completely? Why would you still listen to me?" I finally spoke, my voice calm yet filled with icy indifference. "Mr. Xiao, you're being far too self-deluded. I don't block you not because I still feel something for you, but because I've long since considered you an irrelevant stranger. I don't waste energy on strangers. As for listening to you," I smirked mockingly, "I just want to see how ridiculous things you'll go to in order to win me back." After saying that, I stopped looking at him and turned to leave. Xiao Xie tried to chase after me, but was firmly held back by Brother Zhang. He stared at my retreating figure and screamed in despair, "You Li, I'll wait for you. I'll keep waiting until you forgive me." His voice was mournful and pitiful. If it had been me 3 years ago, I might have softened my heart or been moved. But now, it only sounded annoying to me. Getting into the car sent by Jin Yusheng to pick me up, the driver handed me a phone. "Miss Pei. This is a call from Mr. Jin." I took the phone, and Jin Yusheng's gentle voice came through the receiver. "Has he come to bother you again?" "Yes," I said, leaning back in my seat and rubbing my forehead tiredly. "He waited downstairs from afternoon until evening, saying he regretted it and wanted me to give him another chance." "Ignore him," Jin Yusheng said, his voice tinged with displeasure. "I've already asked Brother Zhang to step up security. He won't have another chance to get close to you." "I know," I replied with a smile. "I've already told Brother Zhang to convey that to him. He should save his deep feelings for Ms. Lin, who's currently in divorce proceedings with him. My time is too precious to waste on his melodramatic acts." Jin Yusheng chuckled. "Well said. People like him deserve to be completely discouraged." But Xiao Xie wouldn't give up. In the days that followed, he intensified his courtship efforts toward me. Every morning, he would appear at my doorstep, carrying the soy milk and fried dough sticks I loved as a child. He would stand there in the cold wind for hours at a time. He also sent me all kinds of expensive gifts, rare jewelry, limited edition luxury bags, and priceless antiques. My office was filled with them. He sent me countless messages, all filled with his regrets and longing. He kept messaging me from dawn until late at night, without ever stopping. He even went to my parents, crying and begging them to forgive him. He said he was young and naive back then, and that he had let me down. He begged my parents to give him one more chance to convince me to change my mind. My parents were fed up with his persistent behavior and kicked him out, saying they never wanted to see him again. Despite all his desperate attempts, I remained completely unmoved. I had Brother Zhang throw away the soy milk and fried dough sticks. I asked my employees to donate the expensive gifts to charity. I blocked all his calls and messages. As for him harassing my parents, I had my lawyer send him a legal notice, warning him that any further attempts to contact my family would result in legal consequences. My stance is clear beyond doubt, but Xiao Cs seemed determined to keep bothering me. As if possessed. The real showdown happened at a fancy business banquet hosted by the city's largest chamber of commerce. It brought together elites from various industries. As the founders and investors of Moon, Jin Yusheng and I were also invited. As soon as we entered the banquet hall, we spotted Xiao Xia. He was dressed in a sharp black suit, with his hair neatly groomed. He seemed more composed than before, but the exhaustion and desperation in his eyes were still evident. When he saw me, his eyes lit up instantly, ignoring those around him. He walked straight toward me. "You Li," he said excitedly, reaching out to take my hand. "You're here too." I knew there was still a connection between us. Jin Yusheng was prepared for this. He quickly put his arm around my waist, protecting me behind him. He glared at Xiao Xia coldly, with a smirk on his lips. "Mr. Xiao, long time no see." Xiao Xia's face turned ugly immediately. "Jin Yusheng, this is between you Li and me. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with me." Jin Yusheng sneered. "Yu Li is my girlfriend. Do you really think it has nothing to do with me?" He paused, emphasizing the word girlfriend deliberately. His eyes were full of defiance. "Mr. Xiao, it seems your ex-wife is quite charming. If she makes you unable to forget her. But my girlfriend has very high standards. She only appreciates people who deserve her attention. Someone like you, a worthless loser, isn't even worth her glance. You." Xiao Xie was so furious that his face turned pale blue. He pointed at Jin Yusheng, but couldn't utter a complete sentence. People around us stared at us, whispering among themselves with looks of gossip and mockery. It seems that President Xiao and Miss Pei do have a past relationship after all. Mr. Jin really protects Miss Pei too much. What a possessive attitude. President Xiao's really unlucky. His ex-wife doesn't like him, and his beloved has been taken away by someone else. Serves him right. He didn't cherish Miss Pei back then. It's too late for him to regret now. Xiao Xia's face turned pale and red repeatedly, looking utterly embarrassed under everyone's gaze. He took a deep breath, looked at me, and spoke with a last-ditch effort. "You Li, tell her that I'm still in your heart. She's just deceived you by him." I stepped forward from behind Jin Yusheng, looked at him with calm eyes, and said, "Mr. Xiao, I've made myself clear. Our relationship is over. I'm happy now. Jin Yusheng treats me well. We're about to get married. Please stop bothering me and interfering with our lives." With that, I took Jin Yusheng's arm and walked away, never looking back at Xiao Xia again. Xiao Xia stood there, watching us leave together. His face was pale, and he seemed on the verge of collapse. The surrounding murmurs and snickers felt like needles piercing his heart. This carefully orchestrated meeting by chance turned out to be a complete joke. And all of this was witnessed by Lin Zhaoyue, who wasn't far away. She was dressed in a red evening gown, standing in the shadows. Her gaze was fierce as she stared at our backs, her nails digging deep into her palms. Ever since Xiao Xia began to pursue me obsessively, his attitude toward Lin Zhaoyue became increasingly cold. He not only moved out of the marital home but also accelerated the divorce process. He even stopped responding to Lin Zhaoyue's calls and messages. Lin Zhaoyue sensed the danger. She knew that if she lost her status as Mrs. Xiao, she would revert to being the worthless, despised Lin Zhaoyue of before. She refused to accept that. So, she vented all her resentment on me. The day after the party, Lin Zhaoyue rushed to my company. Without making an appointment, she rushed past the receptionist and into my office. Like a wild lioness. "Pei Yue, you fox!" She pointed at me, her voice shrill and harsh, her face twisted with rage. It must be you who seduced Xiao Xie. What underhanded tricks did you use to make him so obsessed with you? 3 years ago, you lost to me. Now you try to do it again. To steal my man from me. I tell you, that's impossible. Xiao Xie is mine. No one can take him away from me. Her loud voice attracted many employees who gathered around. I put down my pen and looked at her calmly, my eyes expressionless. Ms. Lin, please keep your words in check. First, I didn't seduce Xiao Xie. Second, Xiao Xie is your husband. Not mine. Third, I have no interest in him at all. No interest. Lin Zhaoyue sneered, taking a step forward. If you had no interest, why would he wait for you downstairs at your company every day? Why would he give you so many gifts? Why would he be so obsessed with you at the party? Pei Yueli, stop pretending. You're just jealous that I married Xie and that I have everything. You want to ruin our relationship and take Xie away from me. Her words became increasingly absurd and unpleasant. I frowned and said to the security guard at the door, please have her leave. Who dares to touch me? Lin Zhaoyue turned around abruptly and yelled at the security guard, I'm the young mistress of the Shao Corporation. How dare you touch me? Just then, the office door was pushed open. Xiao Xie walked in. He had clearly received the message and rushed over in a hurry, his face full of impatience. Upon seeing Xiao Xie, Lin Zhaoyue seemed to see her savior. She immediately rushed towards him, hugged his arm, and cried out, Xie, you've finally come. Please look at your ex-girlfriend. She seduced you and even insulted me. You must stand up for me. Xiao Xie shook her hand off forcefully, his eyes filled with disgust. Enough. Lin Zhaoyue, have you had enough? This was the first time he had been so harsh and merciless with her. Lin Zhaoyue was stunned, tears freezing on her face. Xie, how? How can you treat me like this? How am I treating you? Xiao Xie sneered, his eyes full of mockery. Lin Zhaoyue, look at yourself now, acting hysterically, causing trouble everywhere. Where's the dignity you once had? Where's any trace of a proper lady in you? You're nothing but a greedy and stupid fool. A fool. Lin Zhaoyue seemed provoked and exploded in anger. I'm a fool. It's you who drove me crazy. Xiao Xie, you hypocrite. You liar. Back then, to win me over, you spent 300 million on a diamond ring for me. You said you'd only love me forever. That I was your angel. Your only one. And now what? You go after your ex-girlfriend right away. What do you think of me? Am I just a toy for you when you're bored? All those things you said before about admiring my independence, my strength of character were all lies. You're just a fickle jerk. The more Lin Zhaoyue spoke, the angrier she became. She grabbed a document from the desk and threw it at Xiao Xie. For your sake, I cut ties with my family. For your sake, I endured everyone's mockery and disdain. For your sake, I gave up my artistic dreams. Is this how you repay me? Xiao Xie stepped aside, his face growing even more ugly. Artistic dreams. Your so-called artistic dreams mean spending my money in bars, fooling around with other men. Lin Zhaoyue, don't act so noble. You married me because you wanted Zhao's money and status. Now you're afraid of getting divorced and losing everything. That's why you're acting like this. Do you think I don't know the truth about your limp? Do you think I don't know all the despicable things you've done in the past? I tell you, just looking at you makes me sick. If it weren't for the divorce agreement still pending, I'd never want to see you again. The two started arguing in public, exposing each other's flaws and hurling insults at one another. Lin Zhaoyue cried and screamed, bringing up all the times Xiao Xie had spent money on her in the past, calling him hypocritical and selfish. Xiao Xie wasn't any more merciful. He revealed everything. Lin Zhaoyue's limp, her conflicts with her family, and her behavior at the bar. The employees watching in shock took out their phones to take pictures and videos. This farce completely exposed the facade of their perfect love, revealing the underlying conflicts of interest and mutual dislike between them. In the end, the security guards separated them, dragging the crying Lin Zhaoyue away. Xiao Xie straightened his messy clothes, glanced at the mess in the office, and then at my calm face. A look of embarrassment crossed his face. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but in the end, he said nothing and left in a hurry. Finally, the office returned to calm. I looked at the scattered documents and fragments on the floor, sighed softly, and said to my assistant, Please clean this up. This whole drama was truly fascinating. After going through this farce, Xiao Xie and Lin Xiaoyue didn't stop their behavior. Instead, they became even more aggressive. It seemed they realized that mere arguments and conflicts wouldn't achieve their goals. So, they came up with an even more despicable tactic, a ruse to make themselves seem pitiable. Xiao Xie began posting photos of himself looking haggard, drinking alone on social media, with captions full of hidden longing and regret. If only I hadn't let go back then. Would I be suffering like this now? It seems the most precious things are only appreciated after they're lost. He even deliberately accidentally revealed to the media that he suffered from depression due to excessive longing, experiencing insomnia, loss of appetite, and significant weight loss. Lin Xiaoyue, on the other hand, staged a suicide by cutting one's wrist act. In her apartment, she lightly cut her wrist with a fruit knife, then took a photo and sent it to Xiao Xie, along with the message, "Xie, without you, I can't go on living. If you really insist on getting a divorce, this is the only way I have to hold on to the last trace of your affection for me." In the photo, there was only a slight wound on her wrist, with a little blood. It seemed more like a carefully planned act than a real suicide attempt. She also sent the photo to some media reporters, deliberately creating the narrative of a wealthy couple's breakup, with the wife committing suicide out of love. Once again, the internet was abuzz with speculation. Some people sympathized with Xiao Xie, saying he was truly in love but betrayed mercilessly. Others sympathized with Lin Xiaoyue, saying she loved too humbly. Still, others blamed me, accusing me of being an intruder who destroyed someone else's family. They want to use this approach to present themselves as deeply emotional and vulnerable, thereby gaining the public's sympathy. They also hope to make me feel guilty and soften my heart, so they can achieve their goals. Xiao Xie wants me to return to him out of guilt. Lin Xiaoyue wants me to stay away from Xiao Xie due to public pressure, while also hoping that Xiao Xie will change his mind out of sympathy. It must be said, they've planned everything very carefully. Unfortunately, their plans have backfired. Lin Xiaoyue's desperate tactics ultimately failed to save her marriage. Under the combined pressure of public backlash and corporate crises, Xiao Xie agreed to the divorce terms, agreeing to give up half of his assets in exchange for getting rid of her. He preferred to lose part of his wealth rather than continue to be tied to this troublesome woman. On the day she received the divorce certificate, Lin Xiaoyue stood at the civil affairs office, watching Xiao Xie walk away resolutely. She realized then that her carefully crafted dream of becoming part of the elite class had completely shattered. Without the title of Mrs. Xiao or the financial support of the Xiao family, her pretense of being a noble goddess was completely ruined by reality. She had thought of herself as an artistic spirit untouched by the mundane world, but once free from that cage, she realized the world outside was even dirtier and more cruel than she had imagined. She wanted to return to the bars where she used to perform and pursue her artistic dreams, but the bar owners refused her every time they saw her. "Miss Lin, with your current reputation, we certainly can't use you. We'd risk ruining our business." The bosses who once fawned over her and praised her unique charm now looked at her with disdain and mockery. They'd long known that her so-called art was nothing more than a cover for clinging to the rich and powerful. Unwilling to accept this, she began frequenting fancy clubs, hoping to attach herself to another wealthy man. But these men either avoided her or treated her as a free plaything, discarding her once they'd had their fun. "Are you the lame woman Xiao Xie got tired of?" A wealthy businessman humiliated her in front of everyone. "Where's your pride from before? Now you're just trying to climb into some man's arms, aren't you?" Lin Xiaoyue wanted to retort, to preserve at least a shred of dignity, but all that came out were helpless sobs. Her once prideful sturdiness meant nothing when faced with survival. Her savings ran out quickly, and she was forced to leave her luxurious apartment and move into a damp, dark basement on the outskirts of the city. Without her elaborate makeup and expensive dresses, without anyone taking care of her hair and nails, her once prized face quickly lost its luster. To make a living, she did whatever she used to despise: their work, washing dishes in restaurants, carrying bricks on construction sites, selling goods at night markets. What used to be the regal goddess now became a common woman who haggled over every penny. Her limp wasn't seen as unique beauty anymore, but rather a source of ridicule. Her declaration of independence became the subject of jokes throughout the city. She became exactly the person she hated most. I saw Lin Xiaoyue again at a charity gala. That day, I wore a simple white dress. As the founder of the Moon brand, I was invited to speak about philanthropy. The stage was illuminated by dazzling lights. The guests were neatly dressed, creating an atmosphere of solemnity and warmth. Just as I finished my speech and prepared to step down from the stage, a figure rushed forward from the crowd. "Payule, you wretched mistress!" A shrill scream shattered the peace of the moment. Lin Xiaoyue rushed at me like a madwoman. Her hair was messy and stuck to her face. Her clothes were dirty and wrinkled. Her face was covered in signs of hardship and exhaustion. She no longer had any of her former grace. Her limp made her tumble as she ran, giving her a pitiful appearance. The bodyguards immediately stepped forward and held her down. "Let me go." She struggled desperately, screaming at the cameras. "I'm Xiao Zia's legally married wife. Payule stole everything from me. She deserves to die. Look carefully. She's nothing but a cunning woman who uses underhanded methods to get what she wants. I'm the victim." Her voice was hoarse and unpleasant, her eyes wild, and saliva dripping from the corners of her mouth. She resembled a complete madwoman. The guests in the audience glanced at her sideways. Some took photos with their phones, while others whispered among themselves, their expressions filled with curiosity and disdain. "Isn't that Lin Xiaoyue? How did she end up like this? How pitiful. A once decent person has gone mad. Everyone who deserves pity also has faults of their own. What she did to Miss Pei is simply retribution now." I stood at the edge of the stage, watching her from afar. There was no joy, no anger, only a faint sense of pity. She had once had the chance to choose differently, but she chose the path of greed and hypocrisy. She despised women who relied on men, yet she herself relied on others throughout her life. She pretended to be noble and independent, but she would do anything for money and status. Ending up like this is simply the inevitable result of her own actions. The bodyguard quickly dragged the crying Lin Xiaoyue away, and order was gradually restored to the scene. Jin Yusheng came over to me and gently took my hand. "Don't let her affect your mood." I shook my head, my eyes calming down again. "I'm fine." Watching Lin Xiaoyue being dragged away, I remembered how she used to wear white dresses and act all high and mighty. Now, in her current state of disarray, all I could do was sigh. She thought the world outside the cage was full of freedom and glory, but she forgot that she had long lost the ability to survive in the real world. Once a canary loses its wings and leaves the safety of its cage, it will only rot in the mud.